What a day. Oh, it's September.
Insert day here.
That means I get to make a...
Non-holiday specific review video.
Well, ain't that neat? Oh, it's the Honken Zebo episode. Oh no.
Oh, God help me! Yes, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen. Time to be forced at gunpoint by the reins of society to make another video about the spooky month.
Help me.
But regardless, it's the Honken Zebo episode, so let's talk about a Halloween cartoon. And what better place to talk about spooky cartoons than the most horrifying country across the 7 continents? Canada. Home of the Double Big Mac! So, Canada has made some cartoons I know. Like, a lot of cartoons I know. Like, holy shit, half of the cartoons I've either seen or heard of are from the land of Moosin. Stuff like Reboot, Totally Spies, the Total Drama Island series, yeah, that all came from up north. Hell, did you know that Ed, Edd and Eddy was a Canadian production? I just learned that when writing the script. This shit is blowing my mind.
I bring this up because on today's Honken Zebo episode, we're gonna be talking about a spook-filled Canadian show, and I'm not talking about Martin Mystery. That will be another time. Nor am I gonna talk about the Beetlejuice cartoon. Canada is full of surprises. Instead, I'm going to be taking a suggestion from the comments and take a look at the show known as Ruby Gloom. A suggestion that was made a year ago. Hope it was worth the wait.
Ruby Gloom started as a creation of one Martin Shu, a San Francisco artist who's done work with Nickelodeon and Disney, along with other projects. Ruby started off as a stationary character, featured on keychains, clothes, backpacks, etc. And the general tone of the character was, if you add this, maybe some of this, and yeah. But in 2005, Martin would sell the TV rights to Nelvana for them to create an animated series based on this one character, spanning over 40 episodes for 3 years. However, not a lot of people talk about this show, and those who do say it's very much overlooked, so let's see if we got an underrated gem in our hands.
So with that, let's enter the Honken Zebo to see if it smells like Teen Spirit as we take a look at Ruby Gloom. That sounded more inappropriate than I wanted it to sound like.
The show centers around the titular character Ruby Gloom and her many friends as they live in a place called Gloomsville. A place that might as well exist on the off-world colonies because we don't get to see much of, if at all, of this town. Instead, we focus on a mansion where Ruby and the gang of ghouls spend their time doing terrifying and frightening acts like trying to help a bat learn how not to be afraid of flying, or one of her many friends is trying to figure out what club he can fit into.
Now that's some scary shit right there, my fellas. That's the type of stuff that makes you go poo-poo in your underoos. Now hold that thought. I need to go change my pants.
Okay, so maybe this show ain't that scary. It's more akin to something like The Munsters rather than something like Real Monsters.
I love the smell of sewage in the morning.
This show was made for children.
But the overall tone of Boo Haunted House is more or less an aesthetic than anything else. But that's not gonna stop them from throwing the word murder into a kids show.
Mr. Mumbles is obviously in the business of murder!
Or how about an entire episode that is sort of a homage to Rear Window? Because sure, why not? Them kids in the mid-2000s were all about that James Stewart! Really, the show isn't as scary as it is delightful. And you know what? I'm down with that. A show where the macabre is the mundane, while still being lighthearted at the core of it. It's kind of like the Addams Family, without the weirdos questioning why there's a guillotine in the middle of the living room. Like, fuck off, mate, the guillotine puts the room together. Sure, Uncle Morton lost a few fingers along with a free lobotomy using it, but if losing a third of your scalp is the price to pay for good decor, then by God, so be it. Am I right, fellas?
I have no idea where this bit is going. We're moving on now. We're moving. Do not ask any questions of what just happened.
So, Ruby Gloom is not that scary. And it's also not very narrative driven. The show more focuses on the characters and the antics they get into, so let's talk about them. Starting with the main girl herself, Ruby Gloom in this show isn't the "I like to listen to This Is Halloween on a constant loop in the month of March" type of gal, and is instead a fairly laid-back and cheery individual. She plays as the optimistic voice of reason and will try and help out everyone as much as she can, which kind of makes her the most normal person of the group, and it's not treated as weird. Like, you know how Casper gets shit for being too nice? Yeah, it's not like that here. And that kind of helps add to the show's charm, if I'm honest. Once again, it's treating the macabre as the mundane. It's not trying to be spooky house, motherfucker. It's just a bunch of characters living peacefully in one. Minus the fucker part. And speaking of living in a house, we also got other characters too, like Iris, a cyclops with high levels of energy as she performs many thrilling actions, with the most ADHD enthusiasm you can put on screen. And then there's Misery, a banshee whose main shtick is that the world itself wants her and her entire lineage erased from existence. She provides a good amount of the comedy in this show, as we get to see her get zapped, smacked, and just so many other references of terrible moments in human history that were put upon her and her entire family.
But I don't want to party or anything. And I hate surprises. The last time I was surprised, that pack of wolves was ruthless.
Ha! That's funny! And relatable! Life is but a never-ending spiral of suffering.
Then we get characters like Frank and Len, a conjoined guitarist with the IQ of a rock and a shinier rock. Doom Kitty, Ruby's clever cat that speaks entirely in violin sounds. Poe the Crow, who acts more sophisticated than he actually is and has two brothers named Edgar and Alan, because you can't have a gothic setting without mentioning this poor man. Then we have Scaredy Bat, a neurotic mess of a creature, Boo Boo the ghost, who wants to scare people and is just there, Mr. Bun, Ruby's stuffed rabbit, who I'm convinced has murdered people. Oh, and of course, we got one of the best characters for last. Ladies and gentlemen, Skullboy, the Pony Boy!
I need a skeleton. I'm holding out all the skeletons in mine. There's got to be spookies and there's got to be scary and there's got to send shivers down your spine.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. If there is any creative activity the group gets into, then Skullboy will likely get center focus. This is because he always believes that he's related to an assortment of people, ranging from filmmaker, grease monkey, ice cream parlor owner, I like that one. But whoever he's related to, he's gonna do that profession with a gusto and will show off his talents until the next thing he gets into. He's also the apparent love interest for Ruby, and I don't blame her. I mean, I can't think of a better partner than Skeleton Man here.
Yeah, you know what they say. You can always trust a skeleton, because no matter what, they'll always be with you. Under your flesh. My skeleton's name is Norbert.
So yeah, that's the cast for ya, and the show itself kind of follows their day-to-day adventures. Some of these adventures are usually in the form of self-contained episodes. These episodes usually follow a pattern of having a skit from the beginning and end of the episode, and then tells the main story right in the middle. These stories range from stuff like Ruby wanting to throw a surprise party, only for the rest to think that Ruby is planning on leaving, or in Frank and Len's perspective, dying, to an episode where Skullboy just builds a time machine and accidentally kidnaps Edgar Allan Poe's pet bird Paco, which causes a time paradox and starts to erase the Poe we know from existence. So it's up to the team to try and find Paco and return him back to where he belongs. And of course the main highlight of this episode is that we get to meet Misery's ancestors, and one of them was even on the Titanic as it was crashing.
And that's kind of one of my favorite jokes. Any disaster you can think of, this girl's family is probably in the midst of it. Does that mean one of them was in the World Trade Center? Did Misery's family cause 9/11? Oh my god, it was an inside job.
But my favorite episode has to go to Disaster Becomes You. An episode where it's Friday the 13th and everyone's suffering from the purest form of misfortune. Stuff like getting zapped by lightning, foot murder, and getting attacked by locusts. So throughout the entire episode, everyone's just having the worst luck. Except for Misery, who is now the luckiest person in the world with a golden ray of light shining upon her. And really, the only reason I like this episode is because it's Love Train. The Misery activated her Stan Love Train, everyone's affected by it, it's a goddamn JoJo's reference, I can't help it. Also, the Black Death. Just add that to the list of atrocities this family's been through.
And that's Ruby Gloom for you. Overall, it's a good Halloween show. It's a good show.
It's not anything that will shake the industry, but it's unique enough to be considered something special. And it's kind of sad that this show is not really talked about or even known about. I did joke about it being hot topic bait a little while ago, but I honestly do believe this franchise deserves to be in there next to the Harley Quinn themed socks and the Jack Skellington body pillows. Hopefully this video has at least shed some light on this franchise, and who knows, the creator Martin Chu is interested in a reboot, so anything can happen. I mean, we live in a world where Bubsy came back. Nothing's impossible anymore. But overall, not a bad cartoon from the land that brought us Daniel Tiger and Clone High. Give it a watch if you're in the mood for some spook fun wholesomeness. You won't be disappointed.
And that was the Honken Zebo special. Thank you all for joining, and thank you all for 100 subs. I couldn't have done it without ya. That video is coming soon. Dear God help me. But until then, I'm DavKav. I hope you all have a good Halloween. Stay safe, get lots of candy, and next month we're gonna be straying away from shows about monsters and people in costumes to talk about a show with monsters and people with costumes. It's Tokuvember next month. It's a thing. See you then. Also, Canada made the Arthur cartoon. What the fuck?